So, guys, January is over, and we had enough time to think about the results from Trackmania Awards 2017. So, why not do a little recap episode where we discuss the results and if there was anything that surprised us? This is also the first episode of the Trackmania Podcast on this YouTube channel, where once a week will post a podcast with one profile from Trackmania. But today is a special episode. I will have two profiles to discuss the topic of today. My name is NMD, and I am the host of this show. And like Trackmania Awards, I was not alone. For this episode, I have two guests to recap the awards. Both guests were guests in the Trackmania Awards, and I think they will have a big part of Trackmania this year as well. They were both nominated for Caster of 2017. I'm talking about none other than Nelkey and Scotsman. Nelkey, I'm sure that people who watch this episode know who you are, but can you give them an introduction about who you are and what you do in the game?
Yeah, sure. Well, hello everyone once again. My name is Nelkey. I am the shoutcaster of Adventure Gaming. The last time I was here, I was the shoutcaster of the Mysterious Monkey Squad, but we went to a different organization, and now I am the shoutcaster of the Adventure Trackmania Squad.
Yeah, and I will give you the same opportunity to you, Scotsman. Who are you and what do you do in the scene of Trackmania?
Well, of course, I'm Scotsman of Team A New Era. I've been playing here for a few years now. Only recently started casting through the middle of 2015, so you might have seen me doing some official matches, ESL, stuff like that. And somehow I found my way into playing TMPL, so that's been a nice surprise, I suppose. But yeah, so that's what you might know me for. So I'm playing some games and giving casting and matches here and there as well. So yeah, that's me.
Scotsman, let me start with you. We had a 1 month break since the last results of the Trackmania Awards were given. What feeling are you left with? Is this a show that Trackmania needed, or was it just something extra that people will not miss if it's gone?
Well, I think the show's been a really good thing, and it is something that I would encourage everyone who hasn't already to go back and see it. I believe it's been really good for giving recognition to a lot of different people, not just like, you know, what people normally associate with these kind of yearly topics of who was the fastest player of the year. Of course, there's been a lot of different varied categories for different parts, like events, you know, different environments and media people as well. So I definitely encourage people who want to know a bit more about who's been kind of the figures to look at throughout 2017 to encourage them to check that out and see the kind of nominees and see the categories themselves.
Yeah, for sure. And Nelkey, the show had over 12,000 views and 4,000 votes on Twitter. I know you try to watch every episode and follow it to the best of your capability. What is your general impression of the show and how it played out?
I was really happy with like all the results of like every episode. Also the one I was in, it just was, and like the experience is so nice, and just have like a sort of like an award show is just, it is an amazing thing for this community, I think.
Yeah. Before I will go into asking about the specific of the results and the category, I just want to read out some stats. Like the category with the most amount of votes was the offline event of the year with 223 votes. The least amount of votes was the Canyon Player of the Year with 66 votes. The biggest win of the year was the third player of the year, who was Papu, with 74% of the votes. The closest category was the new face of the year, where Dexter won with 30% over Coco and Revo, who both had 28% of the votes. The guy who won the most amount of votes or awards, not surprising, Spam. He won Streamer of the Year, Caster of the Year, and YouTuber of the Year. And the guy with the most amount of nominees was Riolo with 5. He was YouTuber of the Year, Streamer of the Year, Valley Player of the Year, Lagoon Player of the Year, and was also nominated for Moment of the Year. Can you say anything about like what this stats tells you, Nelkey? Can you read something from them, or are they just random stats?
No, I don't think they are just random. If you take a look like at Spam, he just like deserves like the Stream of the Year, Caster of the Year, and just like the YouTuber of the Year awards. He has just been very like active on Twitch, on YouTube. It's just been an amazing year for him. And also Fariolu. For me, it was not a surprise to see him for the Kenya Player of the Year and for the Valley Player of the Year and stuff. So overall, I'm not surprised. No.
And Scotsman, do you have anything to add about the stats of the year? Like, let's say, offline event of the year was the most voted category. Is that a surprise to you, or?
It's not necessarily a surprise to me, as offline events are always the most coveted events throughout Trackmania. I mean, there's always a kind of new online event, things like that, ESL, of course, formerly STC and things like that. But kind of offline events is the one that everyone kind of waits for. Like, they're always talking about who's going to be the next offline event champion, who's going to be the next Gamers Assembly, Gaming Winterfest, who's going to be the next champion for this. So it makes sense that a lot of people would be interested in a category like that, especially with the addition as well of Zerator's Cup in this, which gathered almost enough interest on its own. So definitely no surprise to me in that.
Without going too deep into it, the new face of the year was an award that many gave feedback of was unclear. Who is a new face? Because the people nominated for new face of the year were people that has been playing it for a long time. But do you agree that Dexter was the guy who took the biggest step from 2016 to 2017? Let's start with you, Scotsman.
Well, from how Bergie, who I believe was a guest for that episode,
correct.
How he viewed the face of the year was, if I remember correctly, it's not necessarily, of course, like you said, people perceived it as being someone who's just came into the scene. How he done it was, of course, someone who's hit the next level in that scene, and I think that's a very fair representation of what Dexter's done. He's from the start of 2016 on to going into 2017. He's certainly hit that other gear and showing everyone that he's certainly one of the best players we have in the world. So definitely a worthy winner of that category, but not saying anything badly about Coco or Revolution, of course.
Let me ask you a final question about these stats, Nelkey. Is it a surprise that Canyon Player of the Year was the award with the least amount of votes, or?
It's not surprising, no. But I kind of want to see more votes on the different environments.
Yeah.
Trackmania isn't only stadium,
Exactly, but a good argument for them having the least amount of votes is that this award show in general also focused on tech awards that maybe people from the Canyon community didn't really care about that or didn't follow it too closely.
It could be a reason, yes. Also, the stadium environment is just way bigger than all the others.
Yeah. So let's go into the bigger awards. I want to point out 3 awards. It's Player of the Year, Team of the Year, and Story of the Year. It's sort of like the awards you need to have if you want to have an award show. And let's start with the Player of the Year. How do you view the results where Carl Jr. won with 40% of the votes in front of Paco and Kappa? I'll ask you, Scotsman, first. Is this a surprise that Carl Jr. once again almost is the Player of the Year?
It's not necessarily a surprise. I mean, you look at Carl and his achievements. I mean, we could talk all day about what Carl's done throughout the years, but even when you just look at this year, I mean, Zerator Cup champion, he recovered that from being beaten by Javi Flat and Bren last year. He's recovered, and of course, he won the Trackmania Cup this year. He's won the TM Pro League as well this year. With a very kind of convincing performance throughout the league stage and the playoffs. So if you just look at terms of achievements, when it has really come into count, Carl's been the one that's performed and has been the one that has came out on top. So certainly not a surprise as to him winning the overall category, I wouldn't say, no.
And Nelkey, do you have anything to add there? Is this a surprise that Carl Jr. won?
I just completely agree.
Yeah?
I just completely agree. He's just been, every year, he has been outstanding. So it just, he deserves that first spot, yes.
For sure. Let's move over to Team of the Year. It was another big category and it was really close this year. For a long time, it was not Team Expert leading, but in the end, it ended up with the most amount of votes. Is this the result we expected, or did it get closer than you thought? I know you might feel stronger about this, Nelkey, but since being a part of my mode, that's no venture. But how do you feel about the results from Team of the Year?
Well, it's for me. It's a little bit difficult, of course, because I am a part of Mysterious Monkeys, I was at least, and it's of course when your team goes up in the lead, it's just an amazing feeling. I was expecting Expert to win it anyway,
Yeah.
but then when you also drop down to like the third position, that it kind of hurts, but it's I think it's a fair outcome of the award itself. Yeah,
For sure. But isn't it a good sign that Team of the Year is so close, Scotsman? Like now you have more teams battling for the Team of the Year rather than just expecting that Expert will take it every year. Or
Yeah, I would say it's a really good thing that there is close competition, and it's not just like one or two names being considered now, where it used to be like Expert or formerly Dignitas and Planet Key Dynamics or Acer through their various different iterations and things like that. Of course, there always was kind of one or two teams that could challenge them at that time, but now we have quite a wide breadth of different teams who can all vie for the same position. We've of course got, through just simply the nominees, we've got Lioncast, Expert, Hawks, now Venture. We've got other teams like M&M, Molotovs and Marshmallows. So it's really good to see that we definitely have a lot of options. And Expert have showed that they do deserve to be top of the pile. I mean, I'm sure each of these teams could come with arguments as to why they would be deserving of the top spots, but I suppose that's the kind of nature of awards such like these. As it was down to the community, and the community eventually said that Expert deserved to take the top spot, and certainly with the results they showed and the performances they had this year, it's very hard to build a case against that.
Exactly. Let's move over to Story of the Year. It's a category like at least I enjoy and I find so much fun finding out what people think has been the Story of the Year, what we will remember from 2017. This year, people voted the Mania Planet 4 update as the Story of the Year in front of the missing World Cup and the strength of the community. How do you guys view this award, and what does the results tell you? I will start with you, Scotsman.
So the results have clearly told me, of course, that Mania Planet 4 has been probably one of the biggest things that has happened for Trackmania in such a long time. I mean, we're not just talking about this year, we're talking about a few years going back. As of course, just simply you look at the fact that one of the core components that people had to take into account in tech communities was bugs, simply. And now with Mania Planet 4, the amount of bugs you receive has been drastically reduced. So even that in itself was a story as to how that's kind of almost completely changed people's perceptions upon Trackmania 2, but unfortunately, with the problems that brought along with it, with kind of claiming events like Spam Weekly under its victims. So it's been a story of the year, maybe not one we all enjoyed when we were reading through it, but certainly it's been an interesting thing to take into account, and is certainly something that's changed how Trackmania is going forward.
Yeah, and it was also, just to mention, it was nominated for Disappointment of the Year, the Mania Planet 4 update. But Nelkey, do you have anything to add about the Story of the Year? What does this kind of award tell you?
What I really missed in last year was the World Cup. It's always a thing that I look forward to most to watch. It's just like we have always had one, except for in 2009, I believe.
Yeah.
So it was just a weird thing to not have a World Cup, and hopefully we will have one, of course, like the upcoming year. So for me, the World Cup was the clear number one spot. But
yeah, okay. When you have 29 awards and you let people in charge of the voting, there are going to be some surprises. What surprised you the most this year regarding the results, Nelkey?
That's a very good question, actually.
Thank you.
Wow, that's
it's
a very
hard to think of, no?
Yeah. I think the offline event, actually, it's been one this Raider Cup. I myself hosted on the Games Assembly. I was pretty sure of it. It was going to win as well, but it didn't happen. Of course, this Raider Cup is huge. It is incredibly huge. But That was like the biggest surprise for me, at least.
Yeah, and let's just mention that the Ryder Cup won with 50% of the votes, and Game Assembly was second with 25% of the votes.
Yeah, it's a huge difference as well.
Yeah, exactly. Scotsman, do you have anything that surprised you spectacular this year, or in particular?
Well, it kind of, when I heard there was a kind of community involvement on it, it was kind of surprising, not a surprise, conveniently with the surprise of the year. When we saw Shorty winning the TTC with, again, one of the biggest percentage, 57% over what over their own was rightly very big surprises of the year, like the ESL playoffs, where a lot of teams fell by the side that weren't expected. But then you see Shorty blowing them all out of the water with a 57%. I would love to say I'm surprised by that, but I'm not, because I know our community. But it still made me smile thinking about that.
Yeah, exactly. He even got more votes than all the three other combined.
It's incredible.
What surprised me the most this year was that the match of the year wasn't the Trackmania Pro League qualification match number 4, because it was such a favorite of mine. But we'll talk more about that category later. Let's just move right over to it now, because you both were guests on my show and had the known category for nominees in that category. Nelkey, I think you had maybe the hardest category to work with, because to watch every match of the year and to try to cover it all by yourself is kind of hard. So I'm kind of sorry for giving you all that.
No problem.
Being in charge of that all by yourself. But the results of that category, what does it tell you? Lioncast, the ESL Grand Final with Lioncast and EarCorp was the winning match of the year. What does it tell you?
For me, it was a little bit unexpected. I think, for example, like the Mysterious Monkeys versus, I think it was Expert Orange. It was in the, I think it was the Access quarterfinal, or like the 8th final. I expected that match to win it first, just because of the comeback Mysterious Monkeys did at the time. And after seeing like the grand final, like the ESL, seeing at first, I was not really sure what I had to think about it. It was a great match for sure.
Yeah,
but,
and you casted it, so you should be happy, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Scotsman, you were nominating for Fastest Player of the Year. How did that play out? Was it surprising that Paco won it, or?
Well, it definitely wasn't surprising that Paco won it, but it was a difficult one to do because there was so many people you could have taken into account for it. Yeah. So, I mean, I tried to almost cheat a little bit and kind of do too many categories with quality and quantity, of which some people weren't happy with. But it's my award; I'll do what I want. But anyway, it was. I'm certainly not surprised Paco got it. I mean, he was the most consistent high level performer throughout that, and I'm happy with how it went. Of course, Kronos, Kappa, and Calby, other nominees, certainly very worthy players in that regard. But yeah, it's certainly not surprised Paco got nominated first for that. He certainly deserved it.
Yeah, and this award is a good example that next year we should have more nominees than just 4 in some categories.
Certainly, yeah.
Yep. And that moves over to the feedback. It's only the second time the show is hosted, but it's the first time we had nominees and allowed the people to vote. And since it's such a new show, there are going to be some changes for next year. There are going to be some improvements. Without going too deep into it, what are the major changes you hope seeing for the 2018 edition? I will start with you, Scotsman.
Well, changes, very much hope at least what will stay the same is that we have a lot of guests in, at the very least.
Yep.
But definitely, I think there needs to be space for a bit more nominees. As like I said, for the Fastest Player of the Year, there's a lot of players that deserve to be on that list, especially for the New Face of the Year. There's a lot of people that deserve to be on that list. And I think what would benefit from our point of view, as well as the people who were the guests, and as well as the people who are voting, their point of view on it, is it would be very useful, like if there's a kind of grey area with an award, i.e. New Face of the Year being the prime example, then making sure it's clearly defined so everyone knows exactly what they're voting for, I guess would be a change I'd like to see going forward.
Nelkey, what changes do you hope will happen before the 2018 edition will be hosted?
Well, the biggest issue I had with this year's Trackmania Awards was the voting polls. They were only on like Twitter, and I know that some people don't have an account on Twitter. I made one for like the voting stuff, so that's
Dedication.
Yes, and it would just be amazing if it would be like on multiple social media places.
Yeah, and without telling you too much about what will happen, I will think the next year we'll have a group working on the nominees, so will not be only one person in charge of each award, because I think that's too much pressure to put on only one guy. And I will think we'll try to create a voting page on a website where you can use your Mania Planet account, so we'll know that it is in fact Trackmania people voting, rather than just people on Twitter that see a retweet and just press a button. But this concludes the recap episode of the Trackmania Awards 2017. Do you have any final words regarding the show, Nelkey?
Yeah, I just love to be a part of the award show.
Yeah, that's a pleasure. And Scotsman, do you have any final words regarding the show? Should we just cancel it, or?
Well, certainly not cancel it, because
Cancel it.
It was
Cancel
only
the host.
Yeah, it was the only piece of publicity I got that year, so we better not cancel it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, not just from the fact of I really enjoyed being a part of it, because it was actually the first time I'd be asked to be a part of something like this, which was really, really nice, you know. But what I really loved about it is seeing everyone, like all the different people, all the different guests coming back. Like I loved seeing that Kappa came back, for example. Kappa has not been seen in 6 months or so, coming back. And I love to see, despite, I mean, if I don't agree with all of them, but it's clearly showing how everyone has a different perception, everyone has a different opinion. And I mean, obviously, of course, opinions everyone might not agree with, but it's still enjoyable to see people's different thought processes, how they view these such things, and who they then think deserves to be participants of such of this. So I definitely think it's a great project, and I very much hope to be part of it in the coming years.
Yeah, and good thing that you mentioned the Kappa episode, because it might be my favorite episode to record, because Kappa had so much on his heart to talk about the offline events. So if you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend to watch the Kappa episode, but also all the other episodes.
Especially
especially yours. And if you want to follow Scotsman and Nelkey, and I think you should do if you are a fan of Trackmania, they bring good content to the game. So remember to follow them on Twitch, on YouTube, and other social media. And if you couldn't get enough of Scotsman and Nelkey, don't worry. There will also be an episode where we talk about our prediction for 2018 on this channel. Do you want to give them a tease about the prediction of the year? Is it going to be some major, ballsy picks? Or is it just going to be some boring, obvious picks? Scotsman?
Oh, now we might hit them out with, as you wonderfully put it, some ballsy picks. We'll put a few surprises in there. We'll give you guys something to think about, but I hope we'll give a lot of people food for thought and make them, like widen the horizons a bit, show them there's a bit more to Trackmania going forward, and some things and people they should pay attention on.
Nelkey, do you want to describe your picks with one word before we close the show?
Amazing.
Amazing. That's it. See you guys. And remember to follow this channel, because I'll try to bring up some content with some new players of Trackmania, but also some player that hasn't been in the scene for some years. Some little tease there. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.